The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by tourbuzz.net, high definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. This is episode 117, lighting tip number 1. So I've talked in the past about how much I like exposure fusion, and I stand by that. But I also want to say, don't forget to light things when necessary. I think some people will say it's always necessary. Some people will say it's never necessary. Whatever. Everyone has their own opinions. But when I saw this, and I framed it up, and I did some exposure fusion, I looked at my bracketed frames, and I thought, the shadows are off, white balance is off, and basically the reflections were there too, and I just didn't like it. I didn't have time to run out to my car to get my radio poppers, so I just slapped the two SB600s behind me, pointing up at the ceiling, on TTL, something I don't usually do, but on TTL instead of manual, and just fired them. So I can't tell you what power they were at because I'm not sure. TTL did all the thinking for me. But anyway, here's the exposure fusion shot. And then here is the shot with flash. And I'm going to walk through the differences just so you know there is a pretty large difference between the two. There's exposure fusion once again, and there is flash. So the first thing that you're going to notice are shadows. From left to right, shadows behind the towel bar, shadows off the faucets, shadows behind the plants. There's actually a shadow along the rim of the tub, and you can see, I'll go over here, all those are canceled out. So from left to right, look again, all those little things that I just mentioned are all canceled out. The other thing you're going to notice is inside this molding. I don't know how good the quality will be on this, but inside of the molding is pretty well shadowed out, along with the corners of the room. When you light it up, you actually open that up a little bit. Same thing back there. Okay, so what's going on with the shadows is that the flash bouncing off the ceiling is able to fill in all those little nooks and crannies that the exposure fusion is not, because that's what the light looks like raw. This is when you basically fill in and substitute. The second thing the flash is doing is it's canceling out competing white balances. So right here, obviously, is daylight. You know, there's a color temperature associated with that. Behind me is incandescent light bulbs, which are on. Foolishly, I left them on. They're on. I have to compete with that as well. So right now you're getting color casts from two different white balances, creating two different white balances. When you use the flash, it kind of overpowers that and cancels them out, and you can see how unified the white balance is on this one. Compare, once again, you can tell which one's which by now. I don't mean to disorient you either by going back and forth, but this is exposure fusion. Look at the various white balance. There's one where it's all crisp and clean. One last thing it does in this photo is it cuts down on reflections. You see right here in the tub, this is, we're splitting hairs here, but for me, that's unacceptable. When you actually cut down, and the reason why you can cut down on reflections is you can shoot at your maximum sync speed, whatever camera you're using. For a D300, I think it's 1/250th of a second. If you're using, let's just go ahead and say you're using a D40 or a D70, those have electronic shutters, and you can shoot at, as long as your flashes will fire, you can shoot at 1/4000th of a second if you want, and you can cancel out a lot of ambient light with that. So this is exposure fusion again. You can't cancel out those reflections because you're bracketing. Remember, I'm doing it from -3 to +3, so I've got 7 different brackets. And when you get up there in the even 0, 0, +1, +2, +3, those reflections are really coming in. Over here, they're not even existing. And you can see it on the tub, and you can see it on, this is, like I said, splitting hairs here. You can see it on the fish bowls. Not so much when you go over to flash. So I would recommend just experimenting with it. Use it when necessary, or use it all the time. It's your choice. On a side note, the only thing flash can't do is bring that little guy back to life. It's a bummer. Sorry, guy. All right. Well, I think that kind of explains the difference between the two. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening.